if the Chargers are not able to draft a Nolan Smith, if they don't like maybe a Lucas Van Ness, if they don't like any of the other players in the draft, if they don't want to, pull the trigger on the 21st pick or maybe even the second round pick, right? If they don't like it and if it's too rich for their blood, who's out there that can make a difference on the edge? Who's out there that can bring pressure, right? Consistently bring pressure. Somebody that you can look at and say, yes, this guy can go out here. He can rush the passer. He can play the run decently. He can do everything that we need him to do. Who is a guy that can do that, right? And I think this guy would be a very, very, very good addition. And I think this is somebody who it just wouldn't be a good addition. I think he can make this defense better. And that's a guy who's out there right now, Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd was released by the Rams last month, right? He was released by the Rams. And it wasn't surprising to me. It wasn't a surprising release. I knew that they had to release players because the Rams are capped out, right? They're capped out. They got a bunch of money owed to Aaron Donald, a bunch of money owed to Matt Stafford, right? They're capped out. They have paid too many positions and they can't afford him anymore, right? So wasn't really a surprise at all. The surprising thing about Leonard Floyd and his situation is that he's still available. That is what gets me is that he's still available. He has not been signed yet, and I think that is very, very, very surprising to me. Um, but to me, it seems like he is very selective in where he wants to go. Um, I'm sure that there's a lot of teams who are offering him a contract the very next day, right? Or possibly even the same day, right? I'm sure he had a lot of interest and I'm sure he garnered a lot of interest. To me, it seems like he wants to be as selective as possible. Now, Leonard Floyd, he's not old. He's not an old guy by any stretch of the imagination, but him playing for the Rams these past few seasons, right? He's got a taste of the playoffs, right? He's got a taste of success, right? I playing, next to Aaron Donald, right? Being able to be a guy that can get pressure, especially in the fourth quarter, right? He played with Von Miller a couple of years ago too, right? So he's played with some of the greats on defense, right? He's been able to improve his game, learn from some of these guys, right? He's had a taste of that, right? He's had a taste of success. He's obviously a Super Bowl champion. I think that he is looking to go to a situation that offers him the best chance at winning, right? Now, wherever he goes right now, I think it's going to be a 1 year deal. Obviously, I think it's a 1 year deal just because he wasn't signed right away. A team didn't throw a bag at him right away, or maybe they did, right? Maybe it was just a situation he didn't want to be in. But because he's waited so long to sign, this is going to be a 1 year deal, right? Everybody who's signing right now, second wave, third wave of free agency, these are all going to be shorter deals. These are going to be 1 year deals that a lot of these players are going to take, right? Whether they want to or not, these are just going to be short deals because it's so late, right? Salary cap is getting lower for most teams. So these guys are going to be on 1 year deals for, the majority of the players out there now. So I think Leonard Floyd wants to make money, but I think he wants to continue to win. I honestly do. I honestly think he wants to continue to win. And I think the Chargers have the best opportunity to sign a guy like Leonard Floyd. Now, obviously, cap space, right? I talked about that. That is an issue. That's definitely going to be an issue. But there are some moves that the Chargers can still make to get Leonard Floyd under contract, right? For a decent amount. Now, when you look at the free agent market, right? There's been a bunch of guys, right, who have seemingly been underpaid, right? The NFL, the owners, they seem like they want to create a middle market for a lot of these players. And I would say that Leonard Floyd probably falls under that. Now, I think he's at the higher tier of the middle market players, but he's still a middle market player. Um, the thing that gives me a lot of optimism about the Chargers potentially signing Leonard Floyd is the deal that Bobby Wagner got in Seattle, right? He signed a 1 year deal for $7 million, and he had a pretty damn good season for the Rams last year. He had a pretty damn good season, but he went back to Seattle, signed for 1 year, $7 million. That I looked at that and I said, okay, a deal like that, and I don't even think Leonard Floyd is can get $7 million right now. To be honest with you, I don't think that's out there for him. I think a 1 year, $5 million fully guaranteed deal would get Leonard Floyd on the Chargers. I honestly feel that way. Because again, when you look at the Bobby Wagner deal, Bobby Wagner had a great season. He didn't play for a great team last year, but he had a great season. He showed that he still has a lot in his tank. Going back to the Seahawks, right? And the Seahawks are a team that, they're kind of up and coming, right? They made the playoffs last year, so they're looking to improve, right? They're looking to improve. They're looking to stay in that same spot. They're not rebuilding. They're looking to add, right? Add and solidify their team so that way they get, a little further in the playoffs. Leonard Floyd, to me, really, really makes the Chargers defense go, right? Because if Mack or Bosa went down, Leonard Floyd is a starter, right? He's a starter. Now, when signing him, you're going to have to obviously explain to him that he would be number three on the depth chart, right? As far as the pass rushers and edges go, right? But this is a guy that's going to play, right? He's going to be on the field. You're going to be on the field on third downs, right? You're going to be out there. You're going to have an opportunity to play a lot of snaps, right? And then when you look at the situation, I just talked about it. History says that either Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa will get injured this year, right? That's just what it says. Older players always end up more injured, right? When you get injured and when you get old in the NFL, you do not get healthier. It's the way of the business, right? That is just what it is. Even in life, the older you get, you don't get healthier as you get older, right? Your health, kind of takes a dive a little bit. So if he is smart, right, and if his representation is smart, he would look at the Chargers as a perfect situation because not only can he stay in LA, right? He's been in LA for the past few years, so he doesn't. If he has a family, if he has a wife, kids, whatever, he doesn't have to, make the wholesale changes and move to a different state and all of this type of stuff. He can stay in LA. He can make a decent amount of money, right? I think $5 million, a 1 year, $5 million fully guaranteed contract for Leonard Floyd. I think that's probably what the consensus would be on him for most of the league, right? For most of the league, especially when you look at the Bobby Wagner contract. And I know that they play different positions, but when you're looking at tiers of players, Bobby Wagner is a future Hall of Famer. Leonard Floyd is not, right? He's still a very, very good player, but he's not a future Hall of Famer. So if a future Hall of Fame defender gets a 1 year, $7 million deal, I think a 1 year, $5 million deal for a very productive edge rusher in Leonard Floyd, I think is fair. I think it's fair. So I think that he could probably get that anywhere that he went. Now, if he wants to stay in LA and if he wants to play for a team who is seemingly going to contend, right? The Chargers, they have a lot of holes to fill, but a lot of people, right, including me, I expect them to contend next year, right? I expect them to make the playoffs next year. I expect all of that. So if the Chargers can get him under contract, like I said, 1 year, $5 million, I think really does it. And that is something that you can have under your belt. You will not have to worry about the edge position anymore, right? That goes away. So now, if you're able to do that now in the draft, you can look for your offensive weapons, right? You can look for depth on the offensive line, right? You can even look for another safety if you're not okay with JT Woods or you don't believe in him or whatever, or you don't like the situation with him, Alohi Gilman. You can look for other things. I think Leonard Floyd solves a lot of issues for the Chargers right now. I honestly do. There's just too many. There's too many factors to consider when you bring in a rookie edge, especially if it's not a Nolan Smith. There's too many factors to consider. Even if it's a good guy that's coming out of college, right? Even if it's a blue chip prospect, this is somebody who still has to acclimate to the NFL, right? And we see there is the bust potential in the first round is high, right? We see it all the time. The NFL is hard, and I'm not taking any shots at anybody, but the NFL is hard. Bust potential happens, right? You don't hit every single draft pick, right? Every single year. There's no way that you can do it. It's just people business. It's a human business, and sometimes people don't adapt, right? There is a lot to consider with that. So you can have the highest hopes of a guy out of college and he might fall flat on his face, right? It's the NFL. He wouldn't be the first guy to do it, and he certainly wouldn't be the last guy to do it. Leonard Floyd is a guy who has been productive in his career. He's been productive. He knows what to do. He is a professional. He knows how to get along in the locker room. He knows what the NFL game is about. that is something that you would not have to worry about. And obviously, he has a connection with Staley, right? The Rams guys, we talk about it all the time. The Rams guys had that connection with Staley. He played under Staley when the Rams, when they had that what was it, a top 10 defense or whatever it was, when Staley was the coordinator for that 1 year. So he has a familiarity in the defense. He knows what's expected of him. Again, he's a veteran. He's been productive. He knows how to navigate himself in the NFL game, right? He's not a rookie. He's not bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. He can go into a game, get you pressures, sacks, forced fumbles, right? Tackles for losses. He can do all of that stuff because he's done it his entire career. I like that. I really, really do like it. And the longer he stays out on the market, the cheaper he is going to get, right? Because I'm looking at 1 year, $5 million guaranteed for right now, right? If I was going to sign Leonard Floyd, that's what I would offer him right now. Now, the longer he stays unsigned, right? If we go another week, if we go another 2 weeks, the draft happens. If he stays unsigned after the draft, that price is going to go down because there's going to be a lot of edge players who get taken in the draft. There's going to be a lot of them, right? From rounds 1 through 7. There's going to be edge players who are going to fill in positions. They're going to fill in roster spots for a lot of teams, right? If the Chargers, if they play their cards right, if they play their hand right, they can get this guy on the cheap, right? And it could even be cheaper than a 1 year, $5 million contract. Again, that's for me right now. If he stays unsigned for another week, another 2, draft goes by and he's still unsigned, that price maybe goes down to $4 million, maybe $3 million, whatever it is, right? A 1 year prove it deal. But I think he is a guy that can come into the facility day one. Obviously, know the defense, obviously know what's expected of him, but can provide you with valuable, valuable, valuable insurance on the edge, right? And then when you look at 2024, when you look at Khalil Mack, when you look at Joey Bosa, when you look at their numbers, how much money they're going to be owed, right? One of these guys is not going to be here. One of them is not going to be here. I don't know who it is. Is it Mack? Is it Bosa? One of those guys is going to be out, right? You already have a guy in Leonard Floyd, and especially if he has a productive 2023 season, he can be a guy that you look to sign, maybe give him a 2 year contract, right? A 2 year, 3 year contract, whatever it is, right? So he's a guy that can potentially be in your future plans as well, too, right? Not just for the right now, if you play your cards right, and if you are able to get out of one of the contracts with Bosa or Mac, right? He's going to be a guy that is going to be able to provide you some stability at that edge position, potentially, for another couple of years after that. So I look at Leonard Floyd as ultimate insurance. I really do. And I think it really makes a lot of sense for the Chargers. It does. You need that there. Again, Chris Rumph is, at this point right now, he's number 3 on the depth chart. Number 3. That is a scary proposition for any team. When you watch his tape, when you watch him getting pancaked by tight ends, when you watch him getting handled by some running backs in one-on-ones, that's not a guy who you want to count on to get pressure. If one of these, older big name guys goes down, it's not. It's just not ideal. So I'm looking for the Chargers to make this move. They need to make this move. A lot of people talked about John Johnson and all of this stuff. John Johnson would be a luxury signing. That would be good to have. It's a luxury sign. This hinges the season, though. You need edges. If you cannot get an edge, if Chris Rumph is out there playing significant snaps for you, you will not make the playoffs, and you will not win a playoff game. And Brandon Staley will be fired, 100%. That you cannot. The Chargers have to get this edge position right. It wasn't good last year. Like I said, I thought Khalil Mack had the worst season of his career by far last year. He was ineffective last year, and to count on that same guy, to count on Joey Bosa, who had almost a season-ending injury last year, to count on those two guys to be healthy all 17 games and to dominate and to be able to bring pressure and do all of the things that they have done in their career, that's asking a lot. It's asking a lot out of both of those guys, and to me, I don't think it's feasible. So this makes all of the sense in the world to me. If the Chargers are going to make this move, if they are going to make a move, this needs to be the move to be made, right? If you're not going to bring back Kyle Van Noy, or if you can get Kyle Van Noy and Leonard Floyd, right? If they're both asking the same price, give me Leonard Floyd. As much as I love Kyle Van Noy, Leonard Floyd is a true pass rusher. He's not a guy that moves around. He doesn't play in the middle. Kyle Van Noy is kind of the jack of all trades, master of none. Give me a guy who has mastered his position, and that's Leonard Floyd. He's made big plays in playoff runs. He's made plays in the Super Bowl. This is a guy with a wealth of knowledge and experience, and you can't get this in the draft, right? You can't get a guy with his experience in the draft. So if that's all it takes, 1 year, $5 million, maybe three, maybe four, right? If that's all it takes, that needs to be the move that is made. Honestly, honestly, I think so. I have thought about this take for a couple of days now, and every time I think about a take, I try to think of opposition points why the Chargers shouldn't do this, right? If it's a guy that I think that they should sign, I think of things, why wouldn't they sign him? And anything outside of money, outside of asking price, if asking price is there and it matches up, I can't think of any reason why not. I honestly can't. If somebody can, um, if somebody can think of a reason why not to bring this guy in, then feel free to to lay it on me. But I think it just makes all the sense in the world. I honestly do. Honestly do. From where he's at right now, where he just played, for who he played under, right? In Staley, it just makes all the sense in the world. Um, and the Chargers should make this move. They really should. And that means that they probably won't, right? Anything that I feel strongly about, that means they probably won't do it. So